Hey everyone, this is Daniel Litwin, the voice of B2B, coming at you from the Market Scale Home Studio. I'm joined today on the line by Tim O'Donnell. He's the General Manager of Sign, Lighting, and Projects at Vixxo. Tim, great to have you on. How are you doing today?
Good, Daniel. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So today we're going to be chatting some of the pain points, challenges, opportunities, and future of the signage market as a whole. So we're going to be breaking down a lot, pulling from your career experience and some of the work that Vixxo does. Let's go ahead and jump right in, starting with the pain points. Can you break down some of the most common challenges that you see today when it comes to signage and lighting? Why are they happening and why do they need to be addressed in the first place?
Sure. Well, of course, a biased state of view, but signs are the most important advertising product a business can have, and oftentimes overlooked. And so when folks decide to open a business, they'll design their logo, they'll work on their environment within the facility. If it's a restaurant, they'll work on the ambiance, but they'll oftentimes not think about the sign until it's a little bit too late. And people won't find a business without a properly sized, colored, illuminated sign so that they know what the business does. And so we are challenged many times with having to design signs for folks that aren't ready to do so, get signs permitted, which is a process that takes time, and then, of course, get it manufactured and installed. So we try and educate our customers to think about signs early in the process. Realize that it does take time to get things approved and built, and then plan accordingly.
So let's break down specifically some of the common challenges on the facilities side of the signage installation process. Can you walk us through what those facility side common challenges are today?
Sure. Well, planning early for a sign or any piece of equipment for that matter is important because we do have to have power to the sign. We have to have proper structure. If the sign's mounted on a wall, we've got to have proper structure that'll support the weight. If it's a pylon sign that's going to be installed in a parking lot, we have to plan for that, look for utilities before we dig. So there's a lot of pre-planning that goes in place. And one of the things that we try and do early on is put a project charter together. And it traces the life of the project from the very beginning when the sign is designed and the site starts to come to life until the very last step when the sign's installed and illuminated. So it is a process. It needs to be planned. We work oftentimes with companies that do realize that. They plan for their signs early, especially if they're putting up large signs, because there's oftentimes we have to file for a variance, go to the city council and get a larger sign approved or a taller sign approved so that it can be visible to the public.
What about on the construction and operations side of the process? Any of the most common challenges there that you can highlight for us?
Sure. First of all, just plant capacity.
Sure.
People have to plan enough ahead of time enough so that we can properly schedule it into the plant. We can get the product built, shipped. Signs are big. They're heavy. So the logistics of getting a sign from point A to point B, getting it offloaded to the site and then installed takes a lot of thought and a lot of process. And so we try and plan that phase of the process to make sure there's ample time for the sign to be built, for it to be shipped and be put up.
And then finally, what about on the RE side of the process? Any common challenges there you can highlight for us?
Sure. Oftentimes there are. If a tenant is going into a shopping center, for example, there will be landlord restrictions on what they can and can't do. And the earlier that we can get that information so that we can, evaluate it, analyze what they can have, and again, if we need to, help them challenge so that they can get the best sign closest to their colors and logos that we can get, the better off they'll be.
All right, let's talk industry trends now. Obviously, we're going to get to COVID here in a second, but excluding all the ways COVID has affected the market, what would you say was new and changing for the signage industry a few months ago, and how has that gotten us where we're at today?
Sure. There's been a definite trend to move towards digital media, whether that be digital print or whether it be digital electronic signs. And so you're seeing, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that the cost of manufacturing these products has dramatically reduced over the past several years. And so you're seeing a lot more digital wayfinding signs, digital informational signs, kiosks, those type of products inside of businesses where they can change and advertise and message as they need to. And the same with print media. Digital printing and that method of printing has become really popular and really reasonable for the end product that you can get. So I think the impact of the digital age on the sign industry is here and is here to stay. I think the other big change, again, a little longer trend, more than a few months, but certainly over the past several years, LED lighting has replaced most sign lighting you're going to find. So where neon was a major vehicle 50, 60, 70 years ago when the fluorescent lamps came into play and incandescent bulbs came into play. But when LEDs came to the sign industry, they were a real game changer because they're much more durable, they last longer, they're brighter. And so we offer LED products to our customers almost exclusively. It's very rare that anybody will build a sign now with another lighting source.
Let's bring COVID-19 into the conversation now. How has this pandemic reaffirmed those trends you just broke down for us as important ones? And then also any new challenges COVID has presented that have reshaped the industry?
Yeah, sure. Well, as we all saw, an awful lot of businesses moved to takeout kind of service, particularly restaurants and grocery. And so for those businesses, extremely important that their signs were operational, that people knew they were open, because if you remember driving around the streets 3 months ago and it looked like a ghost town, it was hard to know if a business was open or not. Signs became ever more important. Identification, directional signs, wayfinding in the parking lot to get people to the takeout areas. And then on the inside, obviously a lot of work around distancing signage, those types of things, face mask signage, floor decals. So we saw a lot of products emerge really as a result of COVID, and I think a lot of it's here to stay.
There were also a lot of emerging technologies that were and are continuing to impact signage today. You briefly mentioned them, but they are mostly impacting lighting output as well as energy efficiency. Can you walk us through some of those technologies and what the impacts have been on signage opportunities? We've been talking a lot about the challenges. What doors have those tech improvements open for the industry?
Sure. Well, the cost of building signs really in today's dollars has gone down over the years because of automation. So, a lot of the products we sell now are automated processes, automated metal benders, automated forming machines, automated spray booths. So lots of technology around actually building the product. But around the energy savings, LEDs reportedly and probably accurately reduce energy consumption in signs by about 80%. So when you look at signs as a standalone product, they may not be the biggest consumer of energy. But when you look at a parking lot that might have 20 or 30 fixtures, they have high voltage bulbs in them being replaced with low voltage LED, longer lasting, 8 to 10 year lifetime for some of these products. They just had a huge impact on both energy savings, on the actual lighting, and the end result in the parking lots is brighter. So it's had a real impact on those products.
Do you mind expanding on some of the different industries that are benefiting most from these emerging technologies? You mentioned retail. Are you seeing the same for any airport installations, any food and beverage, potentially quick serve restaurants and their drive-through boards? Things like that. Any more examples I think would be great for all.
Yep. Yes to all those things. We're definitely seeing it in exterior lighting applications, street lighting, as you mentioned, airport lighting, large parking lots, any of those kind of common areas where a lot of lighting is required. Restaurants, for sure, it's cleaner, it's brighter. We're seeing a lot of installations, again, internally and externally. Menu boards have been digitized. Ordering systems are confirming your order now. When you go through the drive-through, it confirms your order. You can see what you ordered to know that it's right. So again, a lot of that technology has made a big difference in how these businesses operate and how much more efficient they are.
So let's wrap everything together then. Can you go through some of the best practices, the main best practices that you see for maneuvering these issues and fresh challenges for signage today?
Yeah, well, for us, it always goes back to planning. We think the best practices are around a good plan of implementation. We have seasoned project managers that know these processes, and it's really engaging with the customer and then working with the customer as a partner so that everybody comes up with the great result we want at the end of the project. We're seeing more challenges from the standpoint of restrictive sign codes. And so again, getting ahead of these issues, planning early so that we can get the best result for our client is really important, because there's a lot of forces that would like to see signs reduced, that would like to see lighting and ambient lighting minimized. And so we need to plan for those things. As an industry, we need to fight for those things. Our national association does just that. But educating our clients so that they can be a part of that process is really, really important.
How would a facilities manager or a business owner strategically implement those strategies you broke down? Where do you start to better understand the field? What sort of mechanisms you're going to be working against within the industry to improve your ambient lighting, whether that is municipalities or other companies or partners, et cetera, et cetera. Where do you start strategically? Sure.
I think you have to partner with a company that spends every single day in that arena. We have a lot of data that we collect around city ordinances, around municipalities that are changing their sign codes, that are trying to restrict signage or restrict lighting. And so we keep our eye open for those things. And really, a lot of that is for the benefit of our existing clients. We have many ongoing relationships with clients over several years. So they trust us to do that research. They trust us to properly identify a site. They give us the information early, and they ask us to do all of our research, and even prior to purchasing the site at times, because they don't want to purchase a site if it can't be properly identified. So that education process really is over a period of time working as a partner so that they understand where the triggers are when they have to notify us that, hey, we're looking at a site in this location, and what can we do? What's the good and what's the bad?
All right. And then from there, how do you begin to develop that relationship with a signage partner? Obviously, we'll close out this program with how they can get directly in touch with Vixxo. But what are some of the things that a Vixxo would even need to know to better understand the issues that a facilities manager or a business owner has with their signage and their lighting? How do you begin to develop and actually make that relationship with a Vixxo, a B2B partner in this space, a productive one, a proactive one as well?
Yep. Well, we'll start with a conversation and an understanding of what their goals are for the site. But one of the key pieces of the puzzle for us is a site survey. Our industry and our company, of course, is highly dependent on accurate survey information. So we send personnel to the field to evaluate the site. They'll walk the property. They'll figure out what needs to be done from a signage standpoint. If there's lighting involved or parking lot lighting, we'll address that as well. And then we start our code research, and we'll begin to understand what the city will allow, and what they want, and what the odds of getting a variance approved if we need one. We start to put that package together, and it becomes the design package and the drawing package. And then we create the product that they're ultimately going to want to put up on the building. And then we start the permit process. We go to the city, we submit all the package and get the approvals. If we have to, we go and fight for the variance so that we get all of that approved in advance. And they then don't have the worry of not being able to put up the signs that they want. So it's a constant process. And I think a lot of companies neglect that part of the process. For us, it's very important. We make sure we follow that protocol every time.
All right. I think that does it for our conversation today. Any other final points that you want to leave our audience with, Tim, before we wrap up?
No, I think it's just, pay attention to your signage. We find that in our business, part of Vixxo's business, it deals with the 100 days of summer, because that's when HVAC fails and we get a lot of business during that time of year. Right. For the sign and lighting side, it's the 100 days of winter, because people don't notice their signs aren't working until daylight savings. It gets dark earlier and all of a sudden they realize their sign's been out. So pay attention to your signage, take care of it, make sure it's clean. It's the opening to the front of your business. So you want to have proper signage and make sure it looks great.
All right, Tim O'Donnell, thank you so much for joining us. Again, we've been chatting with Tim O'Donnell, General Manager of Sign, Lighting, and Projects at Vixxo. Tim, really great getting to chat with you today. And if folks want to learn a little bit more about Vixxo's offerings with signs and lighting and potentially get in touch with you directly or with your team, how can they do so?
Sure. We'd love for you to visit our website, vixxo.com. Click on the signs and lighting link. You'll find out more information about our company and how you can reach us directly.
Perfect. All right, Tim O'Donnell, thanks again for your time.
Thank you.